Well, hello there. So, purpose of this video is to ask people to start listing out their best in slot or their current builds on our loot distribution spreadsheet in this column here. So, the whole purpose of this is to help people predominantly with defensive stats, but also to create talking points to talk about your entire builds, right? This is not to come from an angle of being elitist pieces of shit where we force you to play a certain way. No, it's just to help you. So what we're going to suggest is that we use Questlog GG. A lot of people already use this. I'll show you how I personally use it. But the main stats I want to talk about today is, where are you? These guys here, evasion and endurance, because I personally think that the reason why a lot of people get blown up is because we're not paying enough attention to these stats and what they mean, right? And it really is important in order to have an understanding of what these stats do so you can survive long enough to actually make those cracked plays, which you guys I know are capable of doing. So how do you go about doing this? Well, first you need to go to Questlog GG. You need to make an account. And the purpose of this will be to have at least 2 tabs. You can have as many tabs as you'd like, but the main tab here should be what you're currently listed for your gear on here, right? So I have my current set of gear in here, and then I've got the best where I'm looking for. If we could get this, that would be awesome. But so how does this all come together? Well, I think that a lot of people currently have a little bit of melee evasion, a little bit of magic evasion, a little bit of ranged endurance, a little bit of magic endurance. I'm here to tell you that that doesn't work. You need to stack 2 of these. Now, I can only talk about this from the perspective of a tank, but as a tank, because of how our gear sits, we sacrifice magic evasion and magic endurance in order to get max HP. So majority of tanks will look to either roll melee and ranged evasion or melee and ranged endurance. However, for a tank's perspective, it's 9 times out of 10, it makes more sense to roll endurance because we have a larger health pool to go against. So why should you go for endurance and why should you go for evasion? Well, typically, as I was hinting before, endurance is good on much higher health pools. Where evasion, if you don't have a lot of health to begin with, it makes a lot more sense to go ahead and roll for evasion. Now, what does endurance do? Well, I won't go into too much detail about it, but it is reducing the amount of chance that someone has to actually crit against you. All right, where evasion allows you to completely mitigate the attack, completely miss. And yes, that does apply to a lot of CC in the game. So if you are a very low health pool character and you find yourself in a position where you're constantly getting harassed by pieces of shit greatsword wielders like myself, then evasion's really, really strong, and you should heavily consider using it. But if one thing we need to take in consideration is that hit chances are the direct counter to evasion. And come tier 2, if we're going to follow the same trend as Korea, hit chances are going to become so high that evasion will start to fall out of popularity. Now, that's not to say that you can't roll evasion. Evasion builds will still be viable to an extent, but if it does follow the same trend as Korea, then we will expect to see a diminishing amount of people rolling evasion. All right. But in layman's terms, simply put, we want to stack 2 of these things, whether that's melee evasion and ranged evasion, or melee endurance and ranged endurance, if you're a tank, or melee evasion and ranged endurance or magic endurance. The important thing is that you need to stack these stats as much as possible. There is an argument that you can have free endurance, but I won't complicate things here. But I will say if you go to evasion, you must stack 2 of these. Because of hit chances, if you don't have a lot of evasion, there's absolutely no point to having a small amount of it, right? Because let's say, for example, if you've got 1,000 hit chance and you're attacking someone that's got 1,200 evasion, so let's look at what that stat does. So melee evasion, if your stat is higher than the target's hit chance, for every 10 points of difference, chances increase by about 1%. As the difference increases, efficiency decreases. So there are diminishing returns here, right? But if you've got 200 more evasion than the person has hit chance, then you've got, I guess, a 20% chance to evade the attack. And there's some people in this guild that have, when buffed, going past 2,000 evasion, which is very, very strong. But if you've only got 500 evasion, and the majority of people are rocking around 1,000 melee hit chance, absolutely pointless. Those stats are completely wasted. All right. So even though that defensive stats are the reasoning for having this conversation in the first place, please use this as an opportunity to share your build and actually take part in the community and asking for help. Right. If you share these links with us and we get them on the spreadsheet, they give us a good talking points to allow your build to flourish and to get different perspectives and ideas from the other members of the guild. But yeah, I don't want to make this too bloated a conversation. Any questions whatsoever, hit me up, hit the other officers up. Of course, ask Sayet, the other advisor, and we'll do our absolute best to help. But hope this helped. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Cheers.